The Mac Mini is a really great computer, and what I have here is the M1 Mac Mini that I recently bought. And the one problem that I have here is the lack of ports, which is actually a problem with most M1 machines out there. But if you compare to the Intel version of the Mac Mini, the M1 Mac Mini has a lot lesser ports than the standard Intel Mac Mini. So, which is why you might be looking for dongles or even USB hubs to expand the ports of this little desktop. So, which is why I have this one right here. This is the Qwiizlab UH25 Pro, which Qwiizlab has actually sent me one for review. And I personally think this is probably the best USB-C hub that you can get for your Mac Mini. I know there are actually a couple of models that looks pretty similar like this from other brands, but this is really one of the best, and let me tell you why. This video is brought to you by our e-store, Good Deals by KLGG. You can now pay for your favorite gadgets by 0% installment with your credit and debit card from 100 ringgit up to 6 months by checking out with IOU Pay. What's more, get 10 ringgit off and free nationwide delivery on your first purchase. Visit the link below to find out more. I'm glad that the UH25 Pro came in this silver finishing so that it matches with my M1 Mac Mini. But unfortunately, it is not using an aluminum alloy material like you do on the Mac Mini M1, but instead this is plastic, which is why you are already seeing scratches right on the top already. And I have totally no idea on how I caused that, because all this while it has been right under my Mac Mini, but it has really attracted some scratches right over here already. But thankfully, this is something that you don't need to see every day. So right on the front here, you get 3 USB 3.0 ports, with one of them being a USB 3.1 Gen 2 port. You also get an SD card and micro SD card slot, and a USB-C port that also supports USB 3.1 Gen 2 transfer speeds. So here are 3 LED indicators, which I have no idea what they actually meant. So I'm assuming some kind of activity on the storage or the ports right over here, because the manual actually didn't say what they are actually for. So turning over right to the back here, you find 2 extra USB-C ports. One is of course the data transfer port that you will need to connect using a USB-C to C cable that's provided by Qwiizlab right inside the box, one over to the Mac Mini, and the other port is for additional power, just in case if you need to fully use up all the ports for connecting hard drives or other additional peripherals. The extra 5-volt connector is actually pretty useful, and it is something that I find most of this kind of USB-C hubs lack. Now, there's one thing that the UH25 Pro sets the difference from the rest of the competition, and that is expansion. Now, taking out the door from the bottom, you can see that it supports 2 types of storage. One is an NVMe storage or a SATA drive, which I've inserted a Plextor M6S 256GB storage and included a GB PCIe 4.0 NVMe storage here. Now, don't go buying the fastest SSD, because this PCIe slot will only support up to PCIe Gen 3 X1 speeds, which technically means it will support only up to 985 megabytes per second of transfer speed, and that's pretty reasonable because the UH25 Pro only supports transfer over USB 3.1 Gen 2, which the maximum speed would be 1000 megabytes per second. Like I mentioned earlier, the UH25 Pro can technically support transfer speeds of up to 1 GB per second, and that's really fast for a USB-C hub. However, that is unfortunately not achievable with the M1 Mac Mini. And that's not to say that the Mac Mini's USB ports cannot support up to that kind of speed, but rather it is an issue with the chipset of the UH25 Pro itself. That's because when connected with the M1 Mac Mini, the UH25 Pro will only support the bulk-only transport mode, otherwise BOT for short. This limits the transfer speed of the USB-C hub up to 5 gigabits per second only, which means you can technically only achieve up to 600 megabytes per second of transfer speed. However, if you own an Intel-based Mac, you shouldn't have a problem, because the UH25 Pro will work well with the USB attached SCSI protocol, which is available on the Intel-based Mac Mini. The Qwiizlab UH25 Pro retails at $100 US, which I think is pretty reasonable considering the amount of ports that it offers, and the ability to expand 2 types of storage right at the bottom is something that you can find on other USB-C hubs like this. So that's pretty much for my review on the Qwiizlab UH25 Pro. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and let me know if you're using any other Mac Mini hubs so that I can check it out. So for now, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos coming right up on our channel. Be sure to stay subscribed and give us a thumbs up if you like what you saw, and I will see you in our next video.